Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to another episode of Way of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on today's episode, we'll discuss playing an Air Guild gang for our narrative campaign series, Necromunda Monopoly. We'll discuss what a narrative gang is, the reasons for playing an narrative gang, and also provide a 2,400 credit starting roster for your first narrative campaign set in the Necromunda Monopoly campaign setting. So for those of you guys who are brand new to the video, what I decided to do is create a brand new campaign called a Monopoly campaign. It's actually based off of the classic board game Monopoly, and I decided to kind of use it a little bit with some Necromunda rules. If you want to know some more information about that particular campaign setting, I do have the link to that video in my description box down below. And basically the premise is that all 8 merchant guilds are actually fighting for control of a brand new territory found within the Underhive, and they're basically sending their guilds down there in order to fight one another in order to do so. So because of that, all the gangs that take place in that campaign setting are merchant guild gangs. I actually made rules about exactly how that's supposed to be for each of the different gangs, and one of them, of course, being our Air Guild gang as well. Now, unfortunately, Games Workshop never actually made rules for the Air Guild, so because there's nothing official for these guys, so because of that, yours truly decided to make his own rules about how to make the Air Guild, and in fact, that video link is also in the description box down below, so that we can click on that if you want to know more details about that Guild Alliance as well. So because of that, this video is actually twice as much unofficial as it's supposed to be, just because I have an unofficial campaign setting as well as unofficial guild rules, but at the same time though, I think it'd be kind of nice, kind of fun way to actually spice up some campaigns in Necromunda, and I thought I did a pretty good job actually creating this delegation in order to make an Air Guild gang with that. And because this video will be a little more of a deeper dive, I will put this timestamps in the description box down below so that we can click and navigate to the part of the video that actually interests you the most. So that being said, let's go and explain exactly what a narrative roster really is and why you should be using it for your gangs in Necromunda. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about what is a narrative roster. A narrative roster is an idea I've been cooking up for a while, where it's basically a new way of playing. Necromunda is a wonderful game with all kinds of interesting stuff, with dramatis personae and special characters and skills, weapons, equipment, and all kinds of different things that makes this game such a fantastic skirmish game to play. The campaign setting is literally limitless, and the different opportunities that you can have to play. So my idea was, what if you took some of those narrative aspects of the Necromunda lore and applied them to list building for our gangs? Now, in a narrative list, you'll be using dramatis personae as leaders as well as champions in your gangs, so long as it kind of fits with the overall narrative of what your gang is. Same thing with having access to certain skills, weapons, and war gear that may not normally be allowed in your gang as well, and the reason why we're doing that to add to that narrative flavor. This also applies to brutes, hanger-ons, as well as hired guns, which are not normally allowed in a starting roster. So that's what the idea of this whole narrative roster is. We're taking the narrative elements of the Necromunda setting with a specific gang and applying it to that starting roster. Now, the whole reason why you might want to play a narrative gang is because it's a fun new way to spice up playing Necromunda. It could also be the basis of a brand new narrative campaign. A narrative campaign is this idea I've been cooking up in my head about actually having a campaign setting where there's an actual storyline for each of the different gangs. The gangs are out to seek certain kind of objectives in this campaign setting, and that's pretty much how it would work in that campaign setting. The gangs that achieve their objectives, narratively speaking, are the ones that end up winning the campaign. And the idea was a nice little way to explore some of the lore and the endless fluff that is usually associated with Necromunda. Like I said before, Necromunda has a very rich and in-depth campaign setting with different characters, houses, guilds, criminal organizations, different levels and different factions all vying for control of this crazy planet. So I thought it would be really a cool idea in order to create those kind of campaigns around those little pieces of lore and have gangs to reflect that and to do this. The idea of a narrative campaign as well as a narrative roster is that you kind of focus more on fluff and lore rather than competitive play, and I'm going to try to design the lists around that so that way your starting roster does reflect that for the specific game that you're playing. And obviously, the biggest question should be asked, why should you play in every game? And my only answer is with another question, why not? There's a lot of cool things you can do in Necromunda and a lot of cool topics you can explore as well. This is a good way for beginners to learn how to play a game as well, and it could also be great for experienced players too, just in case you're looking for some new and interesting way to do this. Not only that, it could also be fun being an arbitrator of a narrative campaign, because you got to create a narrative story, give different objectives for your gangs to try to accomplish, and earn points that way. It's also really fun for players to kind of build a backstory of why their gang gang is operating the way it is and how it's supposed to operate in the campaign setting, and it's a really cool idea as well. And I suggest giving it a try. I mean, why not? You could always see something new with this game system, and that's the wonderful thing about Necromunda. There's always new and cool ways of actually playing this game as well. I will give you a warning, however, no way in shape and form should you be using a narrative list like this if your arbitrator doesn't allow it for your campaign, just because I'm not following some of the official rules for the gang rule building rules that come with the game. And at the same time, these are also not really good for tournament play, but just keep that in mind as we go forward. Alright, so the gang that I created is the Mercator, Temperium, Aethermatic rigging crew. I know it's a big mouthful of different words, but you know, it kind of matches what Games Workshop usually does with its names for things in Necromunda as well. So this is, like I said before, this is an unofficial rule set, so none of the ways is official whatsoever, so don't use this in campaigns or in official tournaments or anything like that. But if you're looking for a fun way to actually create a brand new gang based on the Air Guild, this is the gang for you. So that being said, let's talk about exactly what the gang's special rules are for the campaign. So first of all, the Air Guild equipment list. Let's talk about exactly where they're getting the weapons equipment from. The gang has access to House Escher equipment lists for both fighters as well as vehicles. This also includes hazard suits due to the nature of their profession as well. The only exception from the Escher gang list that they cannot take are exotic beasts. And the reason why this is actually a really good fit for them is because House Escher actually has a really good amount of toxins within their gang list, which kind of fits into the overall narrative what the Air Guild actually does. At the same time, they also have access to flying machines. So that way, that's also another big thing too. That's the reason why I also decided to use this as well. Escher, for example, they'll have access to the Escher Cutter, which is their jet bikes that they actually have. But to be fair, and also to make it a little bit more balanced, basically only Outcast champions are the only ones that can actually add the Escher Cutters to their war gear for their equipment list. So that kind of makes it a little bit more of a balancing mechanic on that part. So at most, you could ever only have 4 Escher Cutters in your gang if you decide to use these rules to make your own gang list. Another gang special rule is Arrow Merchants, which basically means that all weapons of the gas trait can be purchased by the Air Guild regardless of rarity or restriction, and in addition, all gas weapons also gain the Plentiful trait, replacing any previous ammunition related rules or traits associated with those weapons. And the reason why we decided to do this is because the Air Guild is literally what they're all about. They make pressurized gases and air, whether it's breathable air or toxic gases, whatever the case may be. They're in the business of making gases, for the lack of a better word. So because that, you basically use a lot of toxin trait gas attack weapons with this gang, it's also going to be a really huge part of exactly how this gang actually plays. And we also have the Zeph pack available to these guys too. Now, what are Zeph packs? It says when added to a gang or at the start of a post-battle action step of a post-battle sequence, if a Zephyrman has fewer than 3 Zephs, they may purchase additional Zephs at the cost from below. Each Zeph costs 80 credits. In addition, any Zephs belonging to the Zephyrman always must try to remain within 6 inches of its owner rather than the usual 3 inches. And Zephs also count as Gang Fighter X special rules for gang composition rules. Now, Zephs, of course, are mentioned actually by name in the lore surrounding the Air Guild, and I actually go a little bit more detail about these guys with the Air Guild video that I actually made about making that delegation, making that alliance. But pretty much imagine just a small little creature that sucks the air out of everyone that's around in order to suffocate it to death. Every single time it does, it grows larger and larger and more powerful as time goes on. You pretty much get the idea what a Zeph is. Now, the gang automatically comes with 2 Zephs in his delegation. They do count as gang fighters, but if you want to purchase a third one for yourself, it's going to cost you 80 credits, or if you got to replace any Zephs that might have died over the course of the campaign. And that's pretty much the last special rule involved with the Aethermatic rigging crew. So now that we're going to talk about the special rules for the gang, let's go talk about the starting roster. This is the Air Guild starting roster for Necromunda Monopoly. It's starting at 2,400 points. This is a Mercator, Temperium, Aethermatic rigging crew. So this is the crew that you'll be actually putting together, and also rated at 2,400 points. That way you have vehicles that go on the Ash Waste, because in case you wanted to go out to the Ash Waste, because some of the territories are held out there. Up first is your Zephyrman, who's going to cost 175 credits. Will also be the Outcast gang leader of this group as well. This is not an Outcast game, but we are using Outcast rules in terms of archetypes for the different guild members of the gang, and the reason why is because of the way that the stat just kind of flows naturally into the overall narrative of how these guys work. I mean, Outcast gangs are not known for the best characteristics. They're basically just supposed to be office workers anyways, so that's the kind of mentality we want with these guys. So this guy's going to have a gunslinger archetype, so he's got shooting as well as agility as his primary skills. He's going to have a hazard suit as well as a sawn-off shotgun with solid and scatter rounds. He's also going to have scash shells because he has access to that as a leader of a gang. He's also got a shock stave for a close combat weapon. He's also got a respirator as well, which kind of narratively fits with these guys being out in the upper atmosphere, you know, breathing toxin gases, that kind of thing. He's also got Kim Synth, so that way he can take an intelligence chest to actually make his gas weapons more lethal. He automatically comes with the Catfall skill as well as the Overseer skill because he is a guild member, but we decided to give him the Clamber skill for his skill, and the reason why is because the Zephs actually have flying special rules, and so to be able to keep up with these guys, you got to be able to jump off ledges, which is the Catfall help him out, as well as the Clamber special rules, so that way he can climb up quickly to join up with the Zephs as well. And that pretty much makes up the entirety of the Zephyr at 165 credits. The stat lines are very similar to the Outlander Beastmaster stats, and that's what I based it off of when I actually created this list. Now, your delegation gang's very first champion is going to be the Arrow Loader. It's going to cost 190 credits. This guy's an Outcast champion with the Brawler archetype. And the reason why he decided to do this is because he's all about strength. That's pretty much what he's about. So he does have the hazard suit, as well as a harpoon launcher, as well as a pole arm, as well as a cult icon. He's also got a respirator, and we're also giving this guy the bulging bicep skill as well. So that way you can actually use that pole arm one-handed in close combat. If you want to, you can get this guy a better weapon like a pistol of some sort if you want to pair that up with him as well. The idea behind the Arrow Loader is that this guy basically works in the sky docks, grabs materials with his pole arm to drag it back down, as well as harpoon launcher, getting any freight that manages to float away. And that's pretty much the idea behind that as well. And because since every single champion from a delegation in a merchant guild has a cult icon, we also gave him one as well for larger group activations. Now, your very next champion is going to be Freakstorn Strix. He's going to cost you 290 credits. The Dramatis Personae Bounty Hunter. This is the flying Van Sar character from the Book of the Peril. I thought this guy would make a good fit for a Air Guild gang, specifically since he can fly around, so I thought it's kind of worked out for the best. So he's going to have the Mastermind archetype is what we're going to give him, because this character is always shown as being, the narrative anyways, being tinkering around and trying to keep himself alive, so I figured Mastermind archetype would be a good fit for this guy. He's got an armored body glove, so automatic comes with a 6-up armor save, and he's also immune to Ravage, and when combined with his flak armor, gives him a 5-up armor save. He's also got Shockwing, which is kind of a combination of a grapnel launcher as well as a grab shoot as well, and those rules kind of all combined together with his movement allowance. He does have a harpoon launcher for his primary weapon, as well as an auto pistol for a backup weapon and a fighting knife. He's also got the Catfall, Clamber, Mighty Leap, Sprint, as well as the Infiltrate skill. We're going to give him, he automatically comes with Catfall, Clamber, Mighty Leap, and Sprint, but we're also going to give him Infiltrate as well using his Mastermind archetype, so that way he can deploy deep behind enemy lines, represent the fact that, you know, he's kind of like Batman, kind of sneaking around and flying around to get into position in order to attack his enemies. And because we're using Aranthia's Succession list building rules, we can double the number of champions. So Outcast champion number 1 is going to cost you 420 credits. This character is also Mastermind archetype. They have a hazard suit as well as a needle pistol with shock whip, so that way they can use these on the back of their Escher Cutter. And the Escher Cutter is equipped with twin-linked heavy stubbers, and that's why this guy costs so much credit points. Also has a gas trap launcher as well. He's also packing a respirator, so that way he's got improved toughness checks against gas and toxin attacks. And he's also got the Overwatch ability as well, so that way he can interrupt enemy activations by using his twin-linked heavy stubbers in order to do that. So like I said before, these guys will have access to the Escher Cutter, but only the champions can actually fly the cutters. Specifically Outcast champion. The Arrow Loader can't fly one. Only Outcast champions can. So with this particular list, you're only going to be 2 of these things. So that's kind of a nice little balancing mechanic. Meanwhile, Outcast champion number 2 is going to cost you 330 credits. This character's also got the Gunslinger archetype. He's got a hazard suit as well as a needle pistol and shock whip, so they can use in the back of their vehicles from their Escher Cutter. And they're flying an Escher Cutter with twin-linked plasma guns as well as a gas trap launcher as well. So those plasma guns will be very, very deadly. And when combination with the respirator in order to keep the guy alive with their hazard suit, they'll be able to survive gas and tox attacks as well as be immune to blaze as well as Radphage. And they also have the fast shot ability, so that way they can shoot twice with that twin-linked plasma gun if they want to, which makes this list a very shooting heavy list, and also have this character zip around the battlefield and blasting things wherever they're going. After that, we have Outcast Hive skill number 1, so it costs 215 credits. This character's got a hazard suit, as well as a Nightshade Kim Thrower as their primary weapon, as a stub gun dum-dum rounds. They also have a respirator, as well as Kim Synth, so that way all they gotta do is take that Kim Synth, pass intelligence check, make their gas weapons even deadlier. And this gang member is also going to be the specialist of the gang as well, hence the Nightshade Kim Thrower being used by this fighter. After that, you have Outcast champion. Outcast Hive skill number 2 is going to cost you 135 credits. This character's got a hazard suit, as well as shotgun with solid, as well as scatter ammo and gas shells, because they get that because of their Arrow Merchant special rule. He's also packing an auto pistol for a backup weapon, as well as a respirator, so that way it makes it a little bit more survivable, as well as Kim Synth in case he wants to use his gas shells and be a little bit deadlier by using those. And rounding out the list, we have Outcast Hive Skill number 3, costing 90 credits. This character's got a hazard suit, as well as a last skill, hotshot last pack, as well as a last pistol for a backup weapon, as well as a respirator, so that way they're a little more survivable. And we also have 2 Zephyrs. Both are going to cost 80 credits apiece. Both are equipped with flight special rule, as well as teeth, which is the same kind of weapons that Ripperjacks use. Same thing with the Pack Hunter special rule, which basically means they also can give out and benefit from assists against enemies. And they have the Air Thief special rule, which means that they manage to take an enemy out of fighter. What ends up happening is they either do one of 3 things. Either 1, they remove all other flesh wounds, 2, regain any lost wounds they lost earlier, or 3, add an additional wound to their characteristics. That's the purpose of the fact that these Zephyrs are getting stronger and larger as time goes on. And lastly, we're going to have a Road Dog for this gang, which will be worth 50 credits, so that we can patch up any fighters who get a suffer critical injury. They got a last pistol Medicaid kit as well as a Medicaid skill. And lastly, you have a Scum Racer. This character is going to cost you 340 credits as well. This guy's also got photo goggles and driving a Ridge Runner. It's got a crash cage as well as tire claws. It's got all-wheel steering as well as a redundant drive system. It's also packing engine shell for in case anybody tries to shoot at this thing, so that way it can be a little more survivable with its crew, its drive system as well as its engine. And it's also packing a mining laser because mining lasers are the pwn. And those things cause all kinds of damage against high toughness vehicles as well. If you want to do something really cool with this kit later on as the campaign develops, you want to buy anti-gravity generators for the Ridge Runner, which makes it really, really cool, make it be able to fly around even better, which would make it kind of awesome. So in conclusion, building a narrative list is a fun and unique idea to try out new lists, different dramatis personae that you might not usually have access to, as well as setting up new challenges for yourself, as well as for your campaign as well. And like I said before in the introduction, in no way is this official at all, so I wouldn't recommend you taking these to any kind of official tournaments or any organized tournament play as well. Same thing with your arbitrator. Also double check your arbitrator, see if they'll be okay with you actually making a gang list like this. And ask your arbitrator if you would like to do a narrative style campaign. It could be something really cool. It could be something really cool to try out within your gaming groups and to try out new campaigns, so give it a try. And if you do decide to play this way, please let me know down the comments box down below. I'd love to hear some of the comments and feedback you guys have about using the different lists I create, as well as some future other campaign ideas that I have coming down the pike. And of course, I'll bring up more videos about this topic as time goes on. And as always, recommendations for any narrative list will be welcomed. I'm actually planning on making a narrative list for pretty much every single faction in Necromunda, so I do have my work cut out for me, and I'll be uploading those videos on a regular basis, so keep an eye out for that to make sure you catch it and learn the newest and latest narrative lists for whatever particular faction you would like to play. So that's good for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this video, guys. We will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.